While some fans of certain rival fighting games would argue that Mortal Kombat is a gross oversimplification of the genre that uses shallow gimmicks and glorified cutscenes to mask the lack of any real depth, others aren't wrong. That famous, extremely quick, responsive control and the heavy, satisfying feedback taking chunks out of your opponent's face is just something that can't be found anywhere else, and the more I think about it, what the fuck is a fighting game doing without that? There just isn't any competition, really. By far the best aspect, though, famously, is the community. Whether it's solving arguments, causing arguments, making friends, or losing them, the Mortal Kombat series would not be the same without them. Apparently, is what I hear at least, which is why I just play it online. Which is why I just play the single-player spin-offs. Mortal Kombat Mythology SubZero isn't a janky, fan-made Flash game or Newgrounds made using ripped Mortal Kombat assets, because it doesn't look anywhere near that good. It's an official prequel to the first Mortal Kombat game that serves to make SubZero a deeper, more relatable character that we can all empathise with, because he got really popular despite being a ninja assassin whose hobbies include non-consensual spine removal. The logic there being that ripping out spinal cords and smashing corpses to pieces is fine, just as long as there's a reason for it. The game greets you with the assumption that you're a brain-dead, mouth-breathing idiot that requires a definition of the word myth. You can look into this as much as you want, let's be honest, it's there only to be pretentious, like a Dutch till or a Chase Face video. Where a definition is actually needed though, and where I could have really done with one, is on each level's opening objective. 3 icons representing the elements of wind. Oh yeah, right, okay, sure, cool, when I see that I'll pick it up, because I'll definitely know what that is. Is that it? Probably. Now I like to think I've become more than familiar with so-called bad games. I know all about Superman 64, Bubsy 3D, and I've endured the Uncharted series. So believe me when I say, and it's no secret, that Mortal Kombat Mythology SubZero is famously, easily, and by far really fucking alright actually. Because of the opinions I've been expressing lately, I'm dangerously close to looking like I have bad taste in games. And I don't want anyone to know I have bad taste in games. So I also know that I need to really mean it when I say that the gameplay here is literally just Mortal Kombat's gameplay, but with platforming puzzles, RPG elements, and combat with multiple opponents. I can only ever say it privately and while whispering, but honestly its infamy only comes exclusively from 2 issues that are so fucking irritating that everyone always wrongfully takes their anger out on every other undeserving aspect. Like that rich kid at school whose parents hate him. The first being the fact that fighting multiple opponents means that you can't auto-face them like in the main games, but because there needs to be a back and forward button for special moves, there can't also be a left and right directional button for facing. So fucking Einstein had the great idea of assigning switching directions to a single shoulder button. Although hey, unfamiliar control schemes are just that, and in the majority of cases they just need a while to become familiar, except holy shit is this a perfect example of how that is not the case at all. 6 hours in, I am still not used to it. The second issue is it's just really hard, but so is Mortal Kombat, and being consistent isn't a bad thing, even if you're consistently bad. Some people just don't like surprises, believe it or not, and I call them my audience. Sure, this time it comes from tediously precise platforming as well as cheap input reading AI, hidden impossibly cryptic combos and finishes you're not supposed to be able to do. Believe it or not, this is a series I actually like. But you picked a fucking bad series to get into if you weren't looking for all of that. Alright, still it doesn't make it any better and it's no excuse, but a good example of how it is better is an excuse, and how what I just said was wrong is with the cutscenes.
The amulet! I have Shunek's amulet!
Whose amulet?
The effects, props, costumes, and makeup are horrible. It's badly acted, needlessly convoluted, and impossible to follow, but holy fuck, I cannot get enough of them, please never end. Love, Jay. X. Like all good things though, it does, brutally and way after it should have, resting awkwardly off the side of the series like a disgusting tumour and earning the prestigious title of second worst Mortal Kombat game. Fucking hell, Wikipedia, really laying down those bare facts. If this was the second worst, I can't wait to play the first. right now. Mortal Kombat Special Forces is a game I'm playing for the first time, having never seen it before, instead making this video now due to not having made one previously. Oh wow, it's Jax. Again, this game is also a prequel that also serves to expand and deepen a character from the main games, although doing so instead of through a game, here it's done through the game's title, Special Forces. Yep, that pretty much covers everything. Thankfully though, for someone looking for content, there is still a game, regardless of how little story or character it adds. This time the character being Jax Briggs, Special Forces member tasked with taking down the criminal Black Dragon clan in a low-budget, unoriginal rush-to-release late PS1 beat-em-up that I also really fucking like a lot. Holy shit, what's wrong with me? Firstly, you have the fact that despite the actual combat being way too slow and heavy, tragically betraying the main games and losing all of their appeal, it's precise, satisfying, and weirdly deep with the number of different combos and moves you have and eventually unlock through leveling up. Oh yeah, that's a thing, except the fact I forgot about it means no it's not. The best part being the majority of enemies never have enough health to allow you to fuck up a good combo and retry it in full, meaning you only have one shot per enemy to nail it perfectly. So when you don't, you're desperately looking for another chance. But when you do, you instinctively let out a little scream in celebration and then slowly begin to feel as pathetic as you sounded, all resulting in a beat-em-up game that's only overused gameplay mechanic not only doesn't get repetitive, but is also impossible to get enough of for the first time in their fucking existence, let's be honest. In fact, if the success chime, bonus XP, and animation wasn't rewarding as fuck enough, the last level's enemies, the ones with way too much health, can be knocked backwards off the stage and into the void with a perfect combo, essentially halving the time it takes to beat the stage, and with hour-long levels, I'll take some of that. This of course does mean, however, that enemies pose no real threat and end up feeling more like collectibles to be consumed than opponents to fight, but still, don't worry, they had a really good way of fixing that. Did I say fix? Because what I meant was fuck up, which is nothing like fix. Guns ruin this game like they ruin American high school education. Partly because of how realistic they didn't need to be, but are, turning every fight in the game from the combo system I spent an hour praising into that one scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark, with the sword guy and the gun. Subscribe for more well-written video essays like this. So consider everything I said about the combat entirely invalid and your time wasted, although you knew you were getting that when you clicked on this. So is there any reason to play this at all? Like I said, the story might as well just exist as the game's title. Not only does it offer nothing, go nowhere, or show anything, it actually fucks up what little of Jax's character was already established, giving me more questions than I went in with. Like, for example, it's pretty common knowledge that after the events of Mortal Kombat 2 in preparation for the stronger opponents in Mortal Kombat 3, he fixes his iconic signature rip-off robot arms. Although, despite Special Forces being a prequel to both those games, they are there. So, are they just reattachable, or were they skin sleeves the whole time? Did the developers just forget? I know it's more of a PS1 trait than anything the game is doing, but the choice of dark, grimy, rusty industrial environments is something the console did best, and this is definitely an example of that, and they fucking knew it. You're given a first-person camera with no heads-up display to take some really rad-looking screenshots, at least that's what I tell myself, because in reality it's most likely due to the fucking awful default camera, essentially just going, here, do it your fucking self if you don't like it, and I will. So it's not all bad, definitely not the worst and worth playing in my opinion, which would have been enough if it wasn't for better games raising my standards, making me demand more from my glorified death countdown timer. Speaking of Shaolin Monks, Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks follows the Shaolin Monks, the good guys, the peaceful, solitary protectors of Earth. I'm just happy finding out we've got something other than a prequel to the first Mortal Kombat for once. The only one, actually, even if it does take place 10 minutes after. That doesn't count. The plot centers around the defeated Shang Tsung getting really mad and crying about how he lost, and also killing like a fucking million people, really violently. So in retaliation, the heroes in turn also kill like a million people as well, to make it better again. Really violently also. Seriously, this game really pushes it. Because it features entirely scripted scenes that aren't limited to a couple of seconds, they can really do a whole lot more in the gore department, and they do. Holy shit. Are you okay? Take that, Anita Sarkeesian. So if that's your thing and Live Leak ever goes down, there's your reason right there. Just make sure you bring someone to play it with, because the game's main difference from any of the other spin-offs is that it's a co-op game. At least it was supposed to be. You can play it solo, but the game very reluctantly lets you, and even then you'll be constantly scolded and looked at weirdly as it shuts out entire sections and lectures you in the menus that you aren't really playing the real thing. Except if I had friends, I wouldn't be playing this, would I? I'd be playing a real Mortal Kombat game, so what was the point? It results in the game feeling really awkward. Both main characters in all of the cutscenes and cinematics are made to look inseparable and have their own little subplot going on, but when it dips to gameplay, it's just me, there, on my own. You right? If you can get past the game laughing at you for being alone though, you're not in on anything you can't see here. It plays exactly how it looks like it does. Literally, look at that. Think about how it might play. You're right. And because of how it plays being the only way it plays, I've pretty much come to terms with the fact that I'm going to have a really hard time talking about it, so I've decided to just force it and bring down the entire video. Despite being a sequel to the first game, you wouldn't ever know that. Characters talk, act, and introduce themselves like they're meeting for the first time, which on top of Special Forces makes me wonder whether these people even play their own games. Because I do, once I sat down to follow the story. Didn't, instantly regretted it, and never tried again. Also, if they're going to keep restarting the timeline, they can get fucked. Again, this is a series I like. The best and my favourite part of the game though, by far, is how it plays in a semi-open world, which is both just done really well and benefits the main games by just existing, since it expands and deepens the world and its locations. And by world, I obviously just mean these flat images they were forced to stretch out into full-on areas despite them not being intended for that. Illusion shattered, you're welcome. Big word incoming, it contextualizes literally everything, and although the designs were already there for them to use, it makes you appreciate them even more seeing how well thought out everything either is or was. Because I'm still not putting just making everything up past them, that's absolutely something they'd do. Despite beating the story, my completion percentage only ended up being around 50%, so either a big part of the game was locked out to me, or I somehow stupidly walked past half of the game like an idiot. I'm guessing it's that one. I wouldn't put that past me. Especially considering the amount of secrets this game has, none of which I actually found, including Mortal Kombat 2. Just the entire game. In one of the menus. That's fucking insane to think about nowadays, that a developer would include an entire game they could have sold separately. For money. It would almost be commendable if it wasn't for the fact that online stores weren't a thing to make that possible. I've got way more important things to do than wanting to kill myself trying to get anywhere in that though. I've got Mortal Kombat vs DC Universe not to play. Since for Mortal Kombat X to be Mortal Kombat 10, that would make versus DC Universe Mortal Kombat 8. A fact that I do not understand, nor am I gonna try and argue with, because thank fucking God I would literally kill a man to get out of playing that, literally take a person's life. Although, as the saying goes, when God closes a door, he also creates malaria and kills thousands of innocent people for no reason. Because Mortal Kombat X Mobile on Android allows you to unlock content for the main game, it isn't technically a port but a separate game, a spin-off that I have to play. A game so obviously good and of the highest quality that they didn't even give it a proper name, instead just sticking its version on the end to trick people into actually playing it, like the Master in front of Jay. You play the game by performing a complex free hit combo by, guess what, tapping the screen, then within a small window of time hitting another input like a directional swipe that allows you to complete the combo and win. Yay. Good news for you fans of X-ray moves though, this game is also just a long cutscene. As a gamer, the one thing I always look for in a game is purchasable trading cards and 4 different currency types that help give me that edge during gameplay. Oh good, there's all of that. Just about every pathetic attempt a cash grab game can pull to grab your cash is here. Honestly, it's impressive. All of it revolving entirely around how much of the game you're allowed to play in short bursts and per day. There's that magic word. Energy. Here's another word. Fuck off. Ah, that's 2.